There are sorrows in this world so huge and engulfing that words aren't enough to express them. Sometimes life gives no explanations. It just happens, whether we like it or not. This video tells the heart-wrenching story of a young mother and her one-year-old son. Their lives were cut short by an unforeseen fated encounter with a polar bear. Others in their community tried to help, but the animal was unrelenting, angry, and most likely starving. Here's the tragic story of how the world lost Summer Myomick and her one-year-old son, Clyde Ongtawastruk. When 24-year-old Summer Myomick prepared to leave the school building in Wales, Alaska, she wasn't probably thinking about dying. Myomick held her infant son in her arms, all bundled up and ready to face the biting cold outside. It was January 17, 2023, the coldest month in the tiny village of Wales. With average temperatures usually varying from a high of 9 degrees Fahrenheit to a low of 1 degree Fahrenheit, January weather in the area is best described as freezing cold. Wales is indeed tiny. Only around 150 people live there, most of them Inupiat. The whaling community is located in the Nome Census Area in Alaska, and it's the westernmost city on mainland North America. This means the village is bordered by the Bering Strait and only 50 miles separate it from Russia. It's one of the most remote villages in the United States. Harsh weather sometimes makes it impossible for its few inhabitants to establish any kind of contact with the outside world. Wales doesn't even have any law enforcement. To make matters even worse, January 17, 2023 was also extremely windy, which made the visibility quite low. But Myomick only had a short journey to make, about 150 yards from the school to the city's health clinic. Beside her one-year-old son Clyde, whom family affectionately called Bubs, Summer had a 3-year-old daughter, Avatia. She, her husband Clyde Sr., and their 2 children all spent their time between Wales and St. Michael, a somewhat bigger city. This winter posed some problems to the family. They had been facing some electrical issues at home, and they had to move temporarily. That's why Summer Myomick and her son were inside the school that day. The building also functions as a community center, providing shelter to those in need. Around 2:30 p.m. that day, Myomick cradled her son closer to her chest and stepped outside the building. It was cold, and the wind picked up a flurry of white, blinding snow, making it almost impossible for the young mother to see. The unforgiving winds whipped off furiously from the Bering Sea. Thank God it was only a short walk. But Myomick and her baby never got to make that walk. Out of the blur of blowing snow charged a massive polar bear. The young mother couldn't do anything to stop it. There was no time. The animal was coming at them, straight out of a mother's worst nightmare. It pounced on Myomick and her son, crazed by hunger. It didn't see 2 people who had barely started their life together. It only saw an opportunity to feed, to survive. The beast leapt, and then it began mauling both mother and child. Dawn Hendrickson, the school's principal, saw what was happening outside. It was shocking, too gruesome and cruel to witness. And January 17th was a Tuesday, which means the school was full of kids attending classes. The principal knew there was no way the children could witness the tragedy without suffering immense trauma. They had to be protected. Even more, it was the school's duty to ensure none of the students would somehow go outside and become a potential target for the starved creature. Acting quickly, the principal put the whole building on lockdown. No one could leave. Then Hendrickson closed all the blinds so the children couldn't see the mauling. But the people inside, the adults, couldn't just sit around and wait for the horrible attack to stop. School employees and community members alike armed themselves with shovels and quickly got out of the building to try and fend off the bear. The group got closer to the creature and started trying to scare it off. The polar bear stopped its attack, but it didn't intend to leave. Instead, it turned its attention toward the group. It turned and charged at them, undeterred by their shovels. Terrified, they all rushed back inside. The bear chased them and would have entered the building were it not for the principal, Dawn Hendrickson. Hendrickson slammed the door closed in the face of the animal. For a while, the creature tried to get inside the building. It was terrifying, something that none of those people ever thought about experiencing, despite the village being well acquainted to polar bears. The people inside were shaken, but certainly happy to be alive and safe from the wild animal. Unfortunately, this meant Summer Myomick and her baby son Clyde were once again in great peril. The bear returned to the site of the attack and continued mauling them. Then, out of the white blizzard came a bullet that put a stop to the gruesome attack. Because there's no law enforcement in Wales, the school asked community members to help. That's why a local resident shot and killed the polar bear. But Summer Myomick and Clyde were already dead. It was a dark day for everyone in Wales and St. Michael. Alaska State Troopers were notified of the terrible attack at 2:30 p.m. that Tuesday. A state trooper and wildlife official tried to fly into the village, but the snowstorm was still raging. Powerful winds of up to 50 miles per hour meant there was no visibility, and to top it off, there were no runway lights at the local airfield. The state trooper and wildlife official managed to fly into Wales a day after the attack, and they started their investigation. It was made clear that the unfavorable weather conditions had made it impossible for the mother to anticipate the attack. Myomick and her son's remains were transported to the state medical examiner's office in Anchorage. The bear's remains were transported to a veterinarian for further examination, though hunger was a likely reason for the attack. According to Jeff York, the senior director of conservation at Polar Bear International, polar bears view us humans as prey. As for the community, they had to learn to pick up the pieces and go on without two of its beloved members. The school canceled classes for the week, and counselors were brought in to meet with students. The building was closed on Wednesday, but counseling, meals, and games were offered to the students in the community on both Thursday and Friday. A GoFundMe page was set up in order to help the grieving family. The page has since received donations amounting to over $23,000. Friends describe Myomick as a kind person who was loved in St. Michael and Wales alike, and who was extremely proud of her two babies. Clyde, Myomick's son, was described as bubbling with life and a joy to his family. It was the first fatal polar bear attack in the U.S. since 1990, when a polar bear mauled a man in a village north of Wales. According to scientists, melting ice means that polar bears can no longer head out to hunt seals and walruses. As a consequence, their use of land has increased, and polar bear encounters are more and more likely to happen. These creatures are in a constant fight for survival, but now more than ever, their odds don't look so good. Some studies seem to indicate that polar bears could be extinct within the century. The species is protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Polar bears are also listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act of 2008. This means harming them is strictly prohibited unless human lives are at stake. It's strange to think that such events can still happen in today's world, but this is also a great reminder that our lives can end in the blink of an eye. We have to cherish each moment, as each moment could very well be our last.